Welcome to a very special episode of Take the Black, where myself, Dan Selke of winterscoming.net, and Daniel Rowan of winterscoming.net give you our spoiler-free impressions of the second season of Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime Video, an adaptation of Robert Jordan's beloved fantasy book series, 14 books strong, 2 seasons deep. Can it get any better than this? We've seen the first 4 episodes of the second season. And I guess, Daniel, I'll start the ball rolling. Did you like them?
We're going right into it. Okay. Yes. But I have some thoughts.
Do ya?
So I do. Imagine that we're here to give thoughts. So what I will say is, yes, I did enjoy them. I think the show is a more confident, full show this season. A lot of the sets and special effects look better. The actors have better material. So generally, yeah, I liked them. Most of my weirdnesses have to do with book to screen things. Big surprise if you've been a listener of the channel for any amount of time. But yeah, so generally, yes, with an asterisk, I would say. How about you, Dan? Did you enjoy them before we get into some nitty gritty?
I definitely did. So we both watched the first season and we both more or less liked it, I think. You've read all the books. I've read some of the books, and I think I'm a little less attached to the books than you are. Quite frankly, I think the books are kind of have a bit of a glut issue sometimes.
Yeah, which is a fair opinion.
Wasn't expecting them to be 1-to-1. I do agree with you that they changed quite a bit, but honestly, I'm not that mad at the changes. Let's talk about one of what I think is probably one of the bigger changes that I noticed in the second season, which is, okay, so we start with our kind of
spoiler free.
I mean,
watch without fear.
I'm not going to spoil anything. Just it's no spoiler to say that we start with our main cast kind of all doing their own thing, whereas in the first season they're all together and straight from the book. So we got Moiraine and Lan dealing with Moiraine being cut off from the one source, losing her magic witchy abilities. We got Egwene and Nynaeve in the White Tower are training to be Aes Sedai. We got Perrin traveling with some Shienaran soldiers hunting for the Horn of Valyr, and we have Rand having faked his own death, kind of out on his own. And and then Matt is also there. I'm not sure if that's a spoiler. But so it's more it's unfair, but I'll call it Game of Thrones-esque, where we have like all these places. I mean, it's kind of unfair because like the Wheel of Time did it first. Like the books came out years and years ago, but whatever.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point.
But I guess what was a little odd for me was that having read the book, and this is not a spoiler, but we're going to spend a lot of time in the White Tower with Egwene, with Nynaeve, with a new character, Elaine. There's a picture that if we can see of 3 women in white robes that are those that I just mentioned. You can see that would be great. A lot of time with them. I'm going to go ahead and say a disproportionately, surprisingly large amount of time with them, with the White Tower and with the other Aes Sedai, with Liandrin, with the Amerlin Seat's personal secretary, whose name escapes me, with Mistress Novice's.
Leanne.
A lot of time, Leanne, there you go. A lot of time in that area, learning about Aes Sedai magic, kind of dealing with these women's problems, with their issues. Would you say I'm correct, Dan, and that we spent more time there than you were expecting, as opposed to some of the other plot lines?
Yes and no. So this season is primarily adapting The Great Hunt, which is the second book in Robert Jordan's series. It does have some elements from other books, which we're going to get to in a minute, especially The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book, which there's some characters like Rand who kind of launched toward his Dragon Reborn arc at the end of season 1, where he goes off on his own. Not really a spoiler to say that. But so The Great Hunt does spend a lot of time in the White Tower with Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine. So I expected that. the way they proportioned things surprised me a little bit this season. But on the whole, with them, I think we needed that.
Oh,
They're,
sure, it's
you
important
know,
stuff.
that is one of the pillars of this novel, is the amount of time we spend with them at the White Tower. I was more surprised by the amount of time the other Aes Sedai characters get in general, because we spend quite a lot of time with other ones aside from our main characters, and
Leandrin,
to the
baby.
degree, yeah, Leandrin, who Kate Fleetwood, I think, is one of the MVPs of the first half of the season. She kind of, whenever they put her on screen with anyone, she kind of ups the ante for the scene, I think, because she's just amazing. But there are others too. Alana, played by Priyanka Bose, is another one who I was surprised at how much screen time she has. So
We
yeah,
meet Varen. She was pretty good.
we meet Varen, who is a very important character. Do not
Mm-hmm.
Google Varen if you have not read the books. But she's going to be around for a while. She's important.
Mm-hmm.
So we spend time with a lot of them. Obviously, Moiraine too. We meet Shiriam Sedai, who is the mistress of novices at the tower. So there are a lot of Aes Sedai. They got a lot of really great actors and actresses to play these parts of Aes Sedai and warders.
They did.
And the upside to that is they're all amazing, and that's wonderful. The kind of odd downside of it to me is they need to then think of meaty enough material to justify having all of these really great actors in those parts, and sometimes that just like detracted a little bit from the main characters of the story, including Moiraine and Lan. There are just kind of characters I think of as side characters, or who won't really be very relevant for a while, who are getting a surprising amount of development this season. And I have some very torn feelings about that. But yeah, so surprised and not surprised at the same time. Where do we go from here, Dan? What are some other things you want to hit on about this season?
I want to float an incredibly politically incorrect theory as to why we spend so much time with Aes Sedai in this season, maybe to the exclusion of other people. Just really, really fast.
You sure you want to do it?
Should
I don't know, man. It's up to you.
There? I'm going to do it. So I'm really enjoying this. I really did. I really enjoyed the. Oh, you look worried. Maybe I shouldn't.
I'm a little worried.
I can't not do it now.
I trust you to word things well, though.
Okay. So there's a lot of Aes Sedai in this season. We spend a lot of time with Nynaeve, Egwene, Elaine, Leandrin. Leandrin, I think, has more screen time than maybe Matt or Perrin even.
Maybe not Perrin, but definitely Matt.
And she's good. She has a great jawline. I honest to God wonder. So I'm watching this show as a gay man. My partner's a gay man. We're watching, we're loving it. And I can't help but wonder, and I know that Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, is a gay man too. And I can't help but wonder if there's part of the reason is that there's a long, long history of gay men kind of making idols out of powerful women with very specific aesthetics, like going from Greta Garbo and Betty Davis and Marlena Dietrich all the way through Nicki Minaj and Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande. It's just from Cher to Madonna. We love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I seriously do wonder if maybe Rafe Judkins and his team are spending so much time with the Aes Sedai and these powerful because they're freaking fabulous. They're just more interesting to spend time with, and to watch Moiraine and Leandrin, stare down people. And Leandrin's giving full Joan Crawford in times with just her incredible jawline and her stares that could kill a man from 80 paces away. And then ingenues of Egwene and Elaine going over there. You have this older Mr. Novice character who's really interesting. You have, I won't spoil it, but there are even other female characters who just kind of pop off the screen in a way that I don't think Matt and Perrin quite were. So I'm kind of reading it through the lens of gay iconography. And I don't think it's entirely inappropriate. And I thought it was good. I wasn't missing the other stuff. In part because I enjoy that stuff too. I enjoy a good story about powerful women being just I don't know, intense towards each other.
Yeah.
It works for me. And I do think that any stuff is strong. I will say this. I don't of the actors, I kind of have an issue with I think it's Zoe Robbins who plays Nynaeve. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes,
Because
it
I read the
is.
books and it in the books, Nynaeve is mainly giving me anger. And I just don't feel a lot of anger from Zoe Robbins. I feel like she always looks kind of worried. Her brow is always very furrowed. And I want more like rage. Because in the books, Nynaeve is always, always angry. And they
Yeah.
give her a ton of material, and she has a great, I think the best episode so far is episode 3, which kind of revolves around Nynaeve. She has some really great stuff, and she does a good job with it. But I'm just wanting more anger from her. So I guess my questions to you are, did I phrase all of that
Yes, you did.
kind of eloquently enough so as not to get us canceled? And do you agree with me about Zoe Robbins as Nynaeve?
Yes, I think you phrased that very well. And I think you make a good case for it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. Rafe Judkins, who is the showrunner, has outright
Is that how
said
you say it?
it is, yeah, Rafe.
Rafe. Okay.
He's outright said that the White Tower is some of his favorite material that he was most excited to get to this season. And I do think you see that come through on screen. So I agree with you. I think you're right on all of that. That I'm going to transition this eventually into some book thoughts that I have, some concerns. But in terms of Zoe Robbins, I do agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I really like her in the part, but I think
She's
the show
good.
has
Yeah.
a bit of a problem with characters. So Robert Jordan was great at writing characters who have deeply buried layers to them. So, like
Mm-hmm.
Lan is another example. Lan is stoicism incarnate in the books.
Yeah.
You kind of get to learn as you spend more time with him that he has extra layers below that. And it's similar with Nynaeve, where she is angry, she is stubborn, but you do get to, the more you get to know her, the more you see those hidden layers of like, she really cares about her friends and she is
Mm-hmm.
a deeply emotional person. But the show, the way it's putting those things a lot more front and center, I think. And even with the Aes Sedai, who are, kind of portrayed as these, they have their faces are different in the book. So it's hard for them
Yes.
to show emotions. So a lot of times they appear very stoic and enigmatic. And obviously the show is having them emote much more. So
True.
I think there is something that gets lost just a little bit with how they're handling that in the show. Now, in terms of, focusing on the White Tower, those sorts of things, I think so. My issue when you say things like Perrin and Matt don't pop off the screen as much or things like that, you're not wrong. But I think part of that is where the show chooses to put focus. There are prominent book plot lines that add a lot of tension from the Great Hunt that the show made maybe decisions to do in a different way or work around in a different way. So it's almost kind of like it's not saying those characters have less good stuff, but the show is choosing to navigate it in a way that kind of relegates them a little bit. And those are choices about what tensions to include rather than just, well, they're
Mm-hmm.
not as good or as interesting. It's like, and this is not exclusive to male characters like Perrin and Matt. I actually feel this way about Nynaeve and Egwene as well. I
Mm-hmm.
think their book plot line, there is a crucial element of it that is missing from this season that is in the Great Hunt. That they kind of just decided they're going to go a different route with it. It's still going to resolve in the same way, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not present in the same way as it is in the book. So yeah, I will say that in terms of adaptation,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of a defender of season one because I think season one had a really rough go of it. And I do agree with you that you're never going to get a one-to-one adaptation of the Wheel of Time in live
No.
action television, nor
Of like
should you.
anything, much less the Wheel of Time. Yeah.
Yeah, nor should you, because I think the
Sure.
Wheel of Time books make some mistakes. Robert Jordan retreads a lot of ground. Like, the climactic resolution of books 2 and 3 is more or less the same. There are reasons they are having to adapt things the way they are. There's the lull, which is like 3 books that are
The
just kind of
slog.
generally regarded as less good and hard to get through by the
Mhm.
fans. And like, you can't have 3 seasons of bad television. just not going to work. So they've had to make choices, and I defended that a lot in the first season. I am having a harder time defending it this season because I think some of the changes they make, especially with Moraine and Lan, for me, their plot line is probably the one that aggravates me the most because they are pulling in. I'm not going to talk about this too deeply because, again, spoilers. There are elements from later books that they are pulling in to their plot line and others this season that don't work as well in the context that they are putting them compared to the context they are used in the books, which is very specific. So yeah, I think as a show, it is a better show this season. No question. I think Falm, which we have not seen Falm yet, which is going to be probably
I've been calling
end.
Falma for like years. But
I always did too. I started calling it Falm recently because I heard all the production people call it that. So if they're saying it, they're probably right. Presuming that Falm is still going to happen more or less the same. I think that aside, my confidence in this as an adaptation is less, even as the show gets better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Again, my head around intellectually. It's interesting because I haven't read the later books yet. I'm on book 4 still, and I didn't mind the Moraine Land stuff at all. I was kind of my fear about the Moraine Land stuff because Moraine, I know that she doesn't lose her powers at this point in the book. I don't know if she ever does.
Correct.
But I know they chose to go that route, and I was afraid it was going to feel like filler, that it was going to feel like giving her something to do to give her something to do, kind of like I think of like the Yennefer plot line in The Witcher season 2, which lost her powers, and just okay, we're doing this now. I've been compelled, like in part because Rosamund Pike is a extremely good, very good on screen, and she's making me feel that conflict. It doesn't feel cheesy the way it did in The Witcher. And so I don't have the wider picture of how this messes up with the later book stuff. So I'm just liking it. So for me, someone who's partway through the books, it's worked fine. But maybe if I read more, I would be incensed like you.
Yeah, you probably would. I think book readers are going to have some struggles this season, honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they make some... There's specific choices. It's not even vague stuff. It's specific choices about what they're including and what they're taking from other books. But like you said, the thing that saves it, which is why I still say it is a better show, even as I think it is a lesser adaptation, or like the adaptation elements are kind of confusing me more, is because things like Rosamund Pike is so good. Kate Fleetwood as Leandrin is so good. Priyanka Bose as Alana, who is a character who they are giving a lot of focus, again, for a very specific reason. She's fantastic. And that does make it easier to justify the adaptation changes because the show itself is still really compelling. But it's that thing George R. R. Martin said back when Thrones was on about like the butterfly effect. And the farther you go on, the bigger those ripples get. And we are going to see that. Decisions they made this season, we are absolutely going to see that as this show goes on, those ripple effects, because of what they have chosen to use from different books, I think.
How do you like the actor whose name escapes me as Celine? How about the or the guy who's playing the man, Ishamael, but whatever you want to call him today?
I'm going to call him Ishamael because Amazon has called him Ishamael in official marketing materials at this point several times. So Fares is the name of the actor. Natasha Keefe, I believe, is the name of the actress for Celine. I really like both of them. I almost said it. I really like both of them. I think Natasha O'Keefe is fantastic in that role.
Really good.
I think he's perfect. There was some weird fan backlash because fans of these shows, of these book series, they can be so precious. It makes me think of like I've seen people complain like she's not beautiful enough for that part, and it's like you're an idiot.
I knew it.
It
I knew that would
made me
happen.
think of
To be fair,
Nikolai
Robert Jordan.
Coster-Waldau and as
Yeah.
Jamie Lannister. People said that about him too. He's not good enough to be Jamie Lannister, and it's like you're dumb. Like he's
To,
perfect, and
to be
she's the
fair,
same.
Robert Jordan is partly responsible for this because I read that book
Fair,
not long ago, and
fair.
just slobbering over Celine in those descriptions of like,
Yes,
oh my, she's the most beautiful person I ever saw in my life. Her, it was impossibly pretty. Her skin was the perfect skin, the perfect hair. It's like, I literally, when I read it, I was like, this isn't doable. This is a fantasy. This is ridiculous. You can't do this on TV.
yeah,
So you cast
but
a beautiful woman.
it's so
Of
ridiculous.
course, she's going to get blowback. She's
Yeah,
really good.
it's so ridiculous though, because like Natasha O'Keefe is gorgeous. Like Nikolai Coster-Waldau is an incredibly handsome man. Like it's not like they're picking bad-looking people to play these parts. But she, in terms of acting, is really, really good. I think. I don't love the way the show has handled the character. Honestly,
Really?
My
I didn't
biggest
mind it. I really didn't.
yeah. My, I think largely it's working. There's a lot of great nods in there for the book crowd, which in general is the case. They're seeding in a lot of very long game foreshadowings for like end of series stuff in this season, which cool. I love. My main thing is really how they introduced that character, Celine. That's my main qualm. Most of the stuff that's come after that, I think, is pretty good.
It's kind of hard to talk about without doing spoilers, but I will say
that
I did not mind. I think we're doing good, but I mean, it's like now I want to talk about like how she's introduced. I didn't mind it at all. Like, because I know in the book that Rand kind of comes across her out in the wild, the hunt for Valorn, and for the hunt for the horn. It happens very differently here, but I thought it worked fine. I really didn't. After I watched it, I was like, oh, I didn't need to like have an exact book adaptation of this. This is fine, unless there's some later book reason that this is bad, and I don't know because I haven't read the books.
Not really. I do think I don't love Rand's plotline this season. I will. I'm going to tread carefully. No spoilers. But they make, again, some interesting choices about what they are doing with Rand that to me kind of fly in the face of the whole point of why Rand is where he is in the first place. His decision to leave at the end of season 1. There are some choices they make in season 2 that kind of clash with that for me. I think the settings... Yeah, we're doing good. I think
we're doing good, but like, how far can we go? Keep
not too far. Well, you know what? This show will be out September 1st, and then we can talk spoilers. But yeah, generally speaking, I like them a lot. I think Ferris as the man / Shamil / some dude Amazon can't make its mind up about is also, he's very compelling whenever he's on screen, and that's the case for a lot of the cast. I think a lot of the actors are really good. I think a lot of the settings are exceptional this season.
Costumes. The Sanshan look great.
The Sanshan look amazing. I think that is something they clearly decided to focus heavily on doing well by. And I think it works. I think I think they did good by the Sanshan. I think
that's some good Halloween inspiration. Is that?
Yeah, it is.
They look terrific.
There's a reason they put out cosplay guides for like Lady Suroth a while back. It's like, they know people. Well, that's how we first found out the actor who was playing Lady Suroth, because they put up a picture of the outfit for people to cosplay, and then they took it down because they realized they put up something that hadn't been announced yet. Which I have to say, Amazon, if you're listening to this, make up your mind with some of these things, because like Ferris, the man who we see here, it's so funny to me how they've kind of flip-flopped back and forth about how to do his identity thing, because he's kind of an identity reveal in the book of who that character is. And the show just kind of can't make up its mind about the marketing for the show, I should say. I'm not going to talk about the season here, but whether the marketing refers to him as one thing or another has been pretty conflicted. So that's my slight poke. But yeah, so The Wheel of Time season 2, it's pretty good. As a book reader, I have some qualms. But I'm really excited to see people's reactions to this.
Me too. Yeah. And as a partial book reader, I really enjoyed it. To be honest, I thought the premiere was fine. Second episode I thought was a little sleepy. Third episode I thought was great. And the fourth I thought was very good too. So I'm in. I like it. If I could take some advice, I guess don't read past book 4 and you'll like it more.
Yeah, that is good advice. I think the deeper you are in the series, the more issues you're probably going to have. One thing I will say about so I've been waiting to say this because I actually saw these episodes for the first time quite a while ago, back when I interviewed the cast in June. But I think there is a reason they are doing a 3-episode premiere for this show, and that is that most of the best stuff of the season is in the back 4 episodes, so they're trying to get us to it quickly. So you can kind of take that as you will. I agree with you. The second episode's a little sleepier. There's good stuff in all of them.
Oh, totally.
In its own way. But I do think part of the reason that they're releasing 3 at once is because the first 3 are the kind of the weaker links of the season. And they know once they get us to fall, it's going to be all uphill from there and we're going to all enjoy it. They just want us to be in Morocco, which is where they filmed Fall.
That's inappropriate. Episode 4 ends some pretty good cliffhangers. Looking forward to seeing how they resolve. I liked it. It's good. I think it's better than the first season. I thought the first season was decent as well. And I'm looking forward to covering it with you and with all of you out there in the audience watching. Hi, tens of fans.
I guess do you have any final thoughts? Because I think we covered pretty much everything I was going to say about this. Everything we're allowed to say at this point. I
think I've done about that too. And no, I think if you're okay with it, we can wrap this up. All
right.
And go about our days.
All right.
Thank you for watching. This has been a special Take the Black presentation, a spoiler-free review of The Wheel of Time. If you're interested, we also do a live show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Winter is Coming Facebook page and the Winter is Coming YouTube page. We're also in podcast form wherever they're downloadable, be it Google Play, iTunes, or elsewhere. Come and check us out. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment. Just watch us. Please read us. Please go to winterscoming.net. We beg you, give us your attention and your love. Thanks so much. The Wheel of Time. I'm Dan. He's Dan. We're Dan's. Have a lovely day.
Take care, y'all.